at a writer's retreat for fiction when I just started playing with a few lines on a page one day, years and years ago, and I just started moving words around on my computer screen from those sentences, and the poetry just came from there, just moving words around. The other thing that happened is I went with a friend of mine to a reading in Concord, at the Concord Audi, with Maxine Kumin, who's a famous, well-known New Hampshire poet, and an incredible poet named Lucille Clifton, both of whom have since passed away. And it was the first time I had ever seen poetry read live, and it was these two powerful women reading their poems and sort of reading to each other. They didn't go one after the other. One would read a poem, the other one would read a poem. And it was so powerful, and I really started to understand poetry from that reading. Maxine Kumin and Lucille Clifton had such a profound impression on me because they're women, they're mothers, they were working, raising children in this world, and speaking their truth from a feminist perspective. What do they say about poets? You know, the poets are telling the truths we know, but we don't know we know them. So, you know, you'll read a poem and it will resonate with you. And you're like, oh, you know, right. And that, you know, one of my colleagues read one of my poems and she said, that stuck with me the whole day and it made me think of this, that, and that about my own life. I feel like with my writing that if we're not telling the truth, if we're not telling truth, then what's the point? And so I think it's like always trying to strive at telling the truth. I think first and foremost, it's feminist. It's told from the perspective of a woman. It's not me. The poems aren't about me. It's not autobiographical. It's not my story any more than anything anybody writes music about, draws, paints is their story. It is and it isn't. You can't leave yourself out because you're you and you're creating it, but it's not autobiographical. But I think the speaker in my book is, again, like first and foremost, a feminist, a mother, a woman. She's somebody who hopes that one less woman or girl would feel less alone for having read these poems. More and more I understand that if you tell these kinds of truths, it enables other people to tell these kinds of truths. I just think that the legacy of, I guess I would say, trauma, whether you want to call it racial trauma, which I'm reading about now so much, whether you want to call it child abuse, the trauma of child abuse, whether you want to call it the trauma of what happens to women and girls, whether you want to call it generational trauma from the Holocaust, from what Europeans did to each other in the Middle Ages, from, I think the only way out is to talk about it and to tell the truth. In hindsight, my spiritual contract when I had children, which was, I was young, I was 26 when I had my oldest, I thought, I'm gonna be the person, I'm gonna stop the trauma, the generations and generations of trauma. I'm gonna change that story as a mother. It's gonna be my spiritual contract to change that story. The cover art, which if you open the book full is a portion of the painting, was painted by my father. His name's Menashe Sofer in probably about 1962, 1963, before I was born. He died at 28 years old when I was about a year old, and so this painting is the only painting that survives of all of his work. And then inside the book are two paintings of mine in the inside cover, and in the back about the author. And those two paintings I feel like are in conversation with his painting.